Hey, it's Cashflow Mike, and I want to talk about one of the biggest questions I get, and that's how do I get paid, right? As a business owner, you should know how to pay yourself. So let's talk about getting paid. So I want to talk specifically on something that hits close to home for every single business owner. That is getting paid, right? So you're starting your business, you're starting to make a living, maybe even build some wealth. So why is it that you're the last one getting paid, right? You cover your payroll, you cover your vendors, your rent, your software tools, and then you hope there's something left over for you. But I'm gonna tell you what, that's backwards, right? It's backwards, and it's way more common than you think. So one of the questions that I get over and over is this: Mike, how much should I pay myself? Who knows, right? We just go to Indeed, and whatever the CEO of a company like ours gets paid, that's what we get paid. But today I'm gonna break it down for you. I'm going to break it down not in theory, not in spreadsheets, but in plain language. And I'm going to show you a simple formula to figure out how much you should be making and how to pay yourself responsibly and build a system so you're not guessing month to month. You ready to get into it? Your family will thank you. So here's the real problem with owner compensation. Here's what I see too often. Owners are out there flying blind. They pull some cash out whenever there's a good week. Some of them might even overpay themselves and starve the business. And some haven't even taken a paycheck in months. And I hope that's not you. But let me tell you right now, if your business can't afford to pay you for the work that you do, are you really in business? Well, no, you're working for free, and that's not sustainable. So your time, your energy, your decisions, I'm going to tell you what, they all have value and you deserve to get paid. The key is knowing how to do it the right way. So let's talk about that simple formula just to get you started. If you don't know where to start here. And of course, I'm going to start with some numbers. Even if you don't know or don't love numbers, I'm going to give you something you can calculate right now. Now, there's some math involved. You might want to get a pencil. You might want to write this down. But here's the starter formula. I want you to think about your owner's pay equals your monthly revenue minus your essential expenses. So monthly revenue minus essential expenses, and then whatever is left over, I want you to multiply that by 0.5, cut it in half. So let's take your monthly revenue. I just want you to subtract out all the must-pay expenses, things like payroll, not including you, rent, loan payments, utilities, software, anything that's left, that's your cash cushion. So then I want you to take half of that, and that's your starting point for monthly owner pay. So if you're bringing in $30,000 a month and you got $20,000 in expenses, well, that's going to leave you with $10,000. Now, half of that is $5,000. That's your owner's pay. Simple, right? That's not where it's going to end up. But if you don't know where to start, think about it that way. Whatever's left over, you take half, you leave half in the business. The other half has got to stay in the business to cover taxes, savings for things that you don't know is going to happen, and future growth. This model, it's going to help you get paid without draining the business dry. Now, is it perfect? No, but it's going to get you out of the guessing game. You're going to have a methodology to use, right? And that's where we start. So what happens when you're ready to level up? You're like, okay, I get it, Mike. I can run that fast. But what happens when you're ready to really go to the next level? So once you got that baseline in place, you can start to refine things, right? And I look at 3 key layers. First, what's your market rate for your role? If you had to hire somebody to do what you do every day, what would they be expected to be paid, right? Is it $60,000, $90,000? That number becomes your long-term salary target, right? That's the first thing we want to do is like, what is this job worth? Now, secondly, I want you to think about what your business is actually producing. And you got to look at your cash flow forecast. Can you support, or can your business support, a steady salary and still keep the lights on? We're not paying ourselves in hopes and dreams, right? We're not paying ourselves in hopium. We're paying ourselves off in actual dollars, numbers. And then lastly, nobody wants to think about it this way, but we just got done with this, tax season, right? What's your tax structure? If you're an S Corp, you need to run payroll. That's not optional. You need to pay yourself a reasonable salary, which is IRS speak for don't cheat, but don't overdo it. So maybe you pay yourself around $4,000 a month on payroll. And then you take profit distributions on top of that when the business is performing well. That's a solid setup, right? So here's the plan that I teach my clients, just along those lines. The structure I'm going to walk them through when they're building up their own compensation system. I want you to set your monthly baseline. Use that 50% rule I just gave you. Start paying yourself consistently, even if it's small, because predictability matters more than size, right? Being able to forecast this out matters more than the size. We can get to the size. Then I want you to define a salary goal. So based on the role that you have, right? Based on what your responsibilities are and what your business can grow into, write it down. That becomes your target. Then let's just start with a small forecast, 3 months. Let's just keep this thing going for 3 months just to test it. Plug in your expected revenue, calculate your fixed cost, then add your salary into those fixed costs and test it. Can your business handle it? Is there going to be a month in the next 3 months where you're going to lose money and it's going to cause an undue strain on your business? Well, adjust it if you have to, right? Bring that base salary down just a little bit. And don't forget about your taxes. Now, I want you to talk to a CPA, whether you're taking a salary or you're taking owner's draws. Make sure that you're setting aside 25-30% of the profit for Uncle Sam. Don't forget that. Guess what? I did. I forgot it one year and it cost me $24,000 at the end of the year. Don't do that, right? So I forgot that one step. Even Cashflow Mike can make that mistake. Lastly, what I want you to do is document the process. So put your owner pay into the budget, set the rules for your distributions, and then keep the personal and business finance separate. Don't be mixing them up. I know some people like to do that, but keep business and personal finance separate. This is how you're going to turn this hustle that you got into a business and turn this business into a paycheck. So here's a story, right? Here's a story of somebody I worked with recently. It was an e-commerce business and they were doing about $700,000 a year. They had great products, they had decent margins, but the owner, he was pulling out just random amounts of money whenever he needed cash. Well, some months he'd take $10,000 and other months it was nothing, right? It was just like chaos. And his wife, she was ready to throw the whole business in the trash, right? She was just fed up with it. She didn't even know how to plan for groceries. So we created a system, right? And we ran the numbers and it turns out that this business could afford a $5,000 a month salary, pretty reliable, and up to $2,000 more, $7,000 if he stuck to a plan, meaning a good expense plan. So when we created the system, his base pay was $5,000 a month, every month on auto deposit. Boom, just like clockwork, just like you're working for another company. But then he gave himself a bonus, and the bonus was a quarterly draw. So every 3 months, he would only draw from the profit. And he'd only draw from the profit if the cash reserves could cover 3 to 6 months of operating expense. So if he was spending $10,000 a month, if he didn't have $30,000 or more in the bank, he didn't take cash out of the business. So within 6 months, here's what happened, right? His personal stress dropped. That's the biggie. His wife was back on board. She was starting to feel more comfortable with what he was doing, right? They were both sleeping better. And for the first time in 3 years, he actually felt like he had a job with a paycheck. So that's the power of paying yourself the right way. So you know what? Let's get you paid. Here's what I want you to do. Here's the challenge. Don't let another month go by hoping there's something left over. I want you to start earning a paycheck. You've built something, now build yourself a paycheck into that something. Then I want you to grow it into a structured system based on your role and your revenue and your reality. Run your numbers, write down your salary target, build a forecast, and then set the rule for when you take profit distributions. I suggest quarterly after you have 3 to 6 months operating expense set aside. So come on, hey, you got this. And if you want help building that system, if you want help with budgeting, you want help with forecasting, pricing, all of it, you know where to find me. I'm Cashflow Mike, and it's time you started paying yourself like a boss. Now let's get to work.